Every World Cup squad creates controversy, but this England squad might have created more than most, because when Thomas Tuchel announced his final selection, some of the biggest names in English football were nowhere to be found. A Premier League Player of the Year, one of the most creative defenders in world football, England's most trusted tournament centre-back, and one of the country's brightest young stars. All left at home, some missed out because of poor form, some because of injuries, and some because the manager simply believed there were better options. So today we're looking at 6 England stars who won't be going to the World Cup, and the real reasons they missed out. Just a few years ago, leaving Cole Palmer out of England's World Cup squad would have sounded impossible. Palmer wasn't just another talented youngster. Many fans saw him as one of the faces of England's future. He had already produced big moments for both club and country, scoring in the Euro 2024 final and helping England reach another major tournament final. Heading into the 2026 World Cup, Palmer was no longer the unstoppable force many expected him to become. A difficult season combined with recurring fitness issues prevented him from reaching the level he had shown in previous years. Palmer himself admitted he had struggled with fitness throughout the season. His numbers were still respectable, finishing the season with around 10 league goals and additional contributions across competitions, but they weren't enough to guarantee a place in one of the most competitive England squads in years. Thomas Tuchel ultimately made one of the toughest decisions of his selection process. He left Palmer at home. A player who looked destined to become a World Cup star would instead be watching the tournament from home. A few years ago, Phil Foden wasn't just expected to make England's World Cup squad. Many fans expected him to be one of the first names on the team sheet. After establishing himself as one of the Premier League's most talented players and winning multiple trophies with Manchester City, Foden looked destined to become a key figure for both club and country. Heading into the 2026 World Cup, Foden was no longer performing at the level fans had become used to. His season with Manchester City was difficult. Injuries, inconsistent form, and reduced playing time prevented him from making the same impact he had in previous years. Reports around the squad selection suggested that his performances simply weren't strong enough to justify a place in one of England's most competitive squads in years. Even before the squad announcement, Thomas Tuchel publicly suggested that Foden's place was not guaranteed after disappointing England performances against Japan and Uruguay. And when the final squad was announced, Phil Foden was left at home. A player who had represented England at the 2020 out Phil Foden was controversial. The next omission may have sparked even more debate. Trent Alexander-Arnold's might have been the most controversial, because unlike some of the other players on this list, Trent wasn't left out because of poor form. In fact, many would argue he was still one of the best right-backs in world football, although he just came from an injury in February, so it have affected his performance without a question. Over the years, Trent built a reputation as one of football's most unique players. His passing range, creativity, and ability to create chances from deep positions made him one of the most dangerous attacking defenders in the game. And heading into the World Cup cycle, many fans expected him to be an important part of England's plans. But there was always one problem. England never seemed completely sure how to use him. Was he a right-back, or a wing-back, or a midfielder, or something in between? While his attacking qualities were never questioned, managers often had concerns about balance and defensive stability. And in a squad packed with talent, those concerns became difficult to ignore. The competition for places was also fierce. England had multiple options across the defensive line, and Thomas Tuchel ultimately decided to build his squad in a different way. So when the final squad was announced, one of England's most gifted players was nowhere to be seen. No Trent Alexander-Arnold. For many fans, it felt impossible to understand. How could a player capable of producing moments of brilliance at the highest level miss out on the biggest tournament in football? But for England's coaching staff, the answer wasn't about talent, it was about fit. And in one of the most debated decisions of the entire squad announcement, Trent was left at home. Unlike some of the other players on this list, Ben White's World Cup dream wasn't ended by poor form. It was ended by injuries. Over the last few years, White established himself as one of the Premier League's most reliable defenders. Whether playing as a centre-back or a right-back, his versatility made him a valuable option for both Arsenal and England. And despite some people forgetting about him because of his long absence from the national team setup, White was slowly working his way back into the conversation. The season wasn't perfect. injuries interrupted his campaign multiple times and prevented him from building consistent momentum. Even so, White still managed 30 appearances across all competitions, scoring once and providing 2 assists. More importantly, his performances were beginning to improve. As Arsenal pushed deep into the Champions League, White started to look more like the player fans had become used to seeing. After months of setbacks, he appeared to be getting back to his best at exactly the right time. Then disaster struck. Just weeks before the World Cup squad announcement, White suffered a serious knee ligament injury that ended his season. Suddenly, all the momentum he had built disappeared. Instead of fighting for a place in England's squad, he was fighting to recover from injury, and that's what makes his omission so frustrating. Unlike some of the players on this list, there isn't a strong argument that White wasn't good enough. The real question is, what could have happened if he had stayed fit? Because with his versatility, experience, and improving form, he might have given Thomas Tuchel a very difficult decision to make. Instead, one injury at the worst possible moment brought his World Cup hopes to an end. While some players on this list were left out because of tactical decisions or fierce competition, Levi Colwill's story is different. His omission is more about timing. Over the last few years, Colwill established himself as one of England's most promising young defenders. Strong on the ball, comfortable playing out from the back, and capable of playing in multiple defensive systems, many fans believed he would become a key part of England's future. And for a while, that future looked very close. But a series of injury setbacks interrupted important periods of Colwill's season and prevented him from building the momentum needed before a major tournament. When he was available, flashes of his quality were still there, but consistency became a problem. Instead of arriving at the World Cup in the best form of his career, Colwill entered the selection period still trying to rediscover his rhythm and secure regular performances at the highest level. And that created a difficult situation because international tournaments don't just reward potential, they reward timing. Managers usually trust players who are healthy, in form, and playing regularly. Unfortunately for Colwill, too much of his season was spent trying to get back to that level. So when the final England squad was announced, one of the country's brightest young defenders was left at home. Not because he lacks talent, not because his future isn't bright, but because the World Cup arrived at the wrong moment in his development. For years, Harry Maguire was one of the first names on England's team sheet. Whenever a major tournament arrived, Maguire always seemed to deliver. He played a key role in England's run to the semi-finals of the 2018 World Cup, was one of the standout performers at Euro 2020 as they reached the final, and was trusted again at the 2022 World Cup. That's what makes his omission so surprising. Despite all the criticism he has received throughout his career, Maguire has consistently performed when wearing an England shirt. Unlike some of the other players on this list, his recent performances suggested he still had something to offer. Towards the end of the 2025-26 season, he was playing regularly and producing solid performances for Manchester United. He wasn't the superstar he once looked capable of becoming, but he remained an experienced defender with leadership qualities and years of tournament experience. The kind of player managers often trust when the pressure is at its highest. But this time was different. England's squad was changing, new players were emerging, and competition for places was stronger than ever. When Thomas Tuchel announced his final World Cup squad, one of England's most familiar tournament faces was missing. No Harry Maguire. For the first time in nearly a decade, England will head into a major tournament without one of their most trusted defenders. Whether fans agree with the decision or not, his omission marks the end of an era.